Warning: the following podcast contains mature and graphic concepts about gun violence. Parent discretion is advised, as it may not be suitable for young children. Welcome to the More You Know podcast. I'm your host, Richland II School District Superintendent, Dr. Kim Moore. Today, we're going to talk about a different kind of education issue: gun safety education. Let me ask you a question. Did you know that firearms are the leading cause of death for American children? Did you know that 4.6 million American children live in a household with at least one unlocked and loaded weapon? Did you know that Little Columbia, South Carolina, is number 3 in the nation for guns stolen from vehicles? So today, joining me is someone who knows the personal heartbreak of these statistics. Marty Brown is a library media specialist at Westwood High School. She is also a volunteer for our local Be Smart chapter. Now you may be wondering, what is Be Smart? Well, Be Smart is a gun safety advocacy group that's located right here in Columbia. Be Smart emphasizes that it is an adult's responsibility to keep weapons out of the hands of kids, and that every adult can play an important part in ensuring that our students are safe. So welcome, Marty.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us today. I really, truly appreciate you taking on this additional responsibility outside of your normal day-to-day operations as a wonderful library media specialist at Westwood High School. When I first heard your story, I knew I had to sit down with you and talk about this issue, because this is an issue that we all can, as adults, take a part in.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is, like most of or like a lot of our students, I'm from a military family. My dad was in the Navy for 25 years, and guns were just a normal part of our household. I mean, some of my earliest memories were of sitting in his lap and target practicing with him, and my mom wasn't very thrilled about that because he used her Tupperware as target practice. So that wasn't good. But, we had guns. They were in the top of the closet. I knew where they were. They were not secured at that time. It wasn't very normal to, secure guns. And that's one of the reasons for the Be Smart program, is to let adults know that the kids do know where they are. They can and they will access them at times. And, and it's up to us to keep them out of their hands. But so as I, kind of told you before, my dad did have a problem with alcohol, and he was a wonderful father, and he tried to be as safe as possible, when accessing the weapons and showing us how to, to shoot the guns and things. But when you struggle with an addiction, then sometimes when you think you're being safe, when you tell someone, like, you always have to have the gun pointed at the ground, or you always make sure it's unloaded, when you put it up, you always check to, before you handle it that first time, you need to make sure that it's unloaded and things like that. But, when you've had a beer or two, or maybe more than that, and then you forget some of those steps. And so there were some accidents at our house. There was one particular time that was really, really stands out in my memory. is I was about 9. I had a little girl, sleep over. You have little summer parties. One of my dad's Navy buddies came over, and my dad had gotten a new gun, and so his friend wanted to see it, and and of course all of us kids, we were crowding around because his Navy friend, brought over his son as well. My little sister was just a few months old at the time, so there was a lot of people, a lot of kids in the house, and my dad, as a gun owner, he should have made sure the gun was not loaded when they were handling it. His Navy buddy, who's also, should have been familiar with weapons, he should have said, hey, let's make sure that this is unloaded. Let's maybe not have these kids around, over looking at this gun. And none of them did that. And his friend pulled the trigger and the gun went off and it shot a hole in the ceiling. And luckily, the gun was pointed upwards. None of us children were hit. But we were all, crowded around him when this happened. And, and I still think about that to this day. It's like, what if the gun had been pointed in a different direction? What if, what if they'd handed it to one of us kids before, that happened and one of us pulled the trigger? Right. My dad was just absolutely sick over that. He just... of course, really as a parent, he loved his kids so much. He never would have wanted something like that to happen to us.
Of course not.
Right. And I think a lot of us, as parents, we want to protect our kids so much and we don't think about those things.
Right. And that's what Be Smart is about, right?
Right.
Because the T in the Be Smart acronym stands for telling. So when we need to emphasize that to students, if you see something, please say something, that's a part of the Be Smart acronym, right?
Definitely.
And it's very simple. When I think of the telling, it's like what you just did with telling your story.
Right.
This was not intentional.
Right.
This was an accident that took place. But can you kind of walk us through what are the other what do the other letters stand for in the acronym?
Yeah, definitely. So with Be Smart, the S is about securing your weapon, having it locked up so that kids or maybe other people, kids, have their friends over. Maybe you think your child would never touch the gun. Maybe their friend would though. Maybe they don't know about it. So it's about, securing your weapon. M is for modeling a responsible behavior, A is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about. It's asking people before you drop your kid off at someone's house, asking them, do you have guns in the house? How are you storing them? Because you just, we ask people about, maybe if our kid has a food allergy, we say, hey, do you have peanuts in your house? My kid's allergic. A lot of times we don't think about asking, do you have guns in your house? And, have you locked them up so that, the kids can't get a hold of them? Another thing, the R, this is another thing that a lot of us don't think about. It's about recognizing the role of guns in suicide. And so, I know I was saying I grew up in a household with guns where we were kind of taught how to handle them safely, but I know that my parents didn't think about that if one of us had been suicidal or having suicidal ideation, that having access to a gun easily, that could have, we could have used that weapon. And so, so recognizing the role of guns in teen suicide. And then the S, or the T, is like you were saying, to tell people, tell others about the Be Smart program, tell people if you see a gun that's unsecured. So that's basically what it stands for.
So I want to dive into some of those areas, because you brought up some topics that I, as a parent, never thought to ask when my children, and being a military family, we were, we lived in a military community. We may have lived on post or on a base where we knew people had weapons in their house, as their right to do, to have their weapon registered and all of the requirements that they needed to have in place. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that our parents understand is Be Smart is not talking about people's rights to bear arms. That organization is not focused on that particular topic.
Correct.
You're focused on safety for students and proper storage of firearms.
Right, exactly. It's just about securing your firearm so that it won't get into the hands of kids or children, or other people who maybe shouldn't have it.
Right.
Because, that's another, part of this is with securing our gun. I mean, I know guns are a lot of money. And I mean, my dad was a collector of guns, and you don't want those getting into other people's hands. I mean, if someone were to, break into your home and it was just in the top of a closet, everyone seems to put their gun in the top of the closet. So I'm sure that, that could be like the first place a thief might look, or, they put it in the glove box of their car, and so if it's not stored properly, not only could a child get a hold of it, but a thief could get a hold of it and, commit a crime with it. So yeah, it's just about securing it so the wrong people don't get a hold of it.
So you mentioned the top of the closet. A lot of times parents, we don't think that children know where we keep things that we don't want them to get into, right? It could be presents for Christmas or their birthday that we hide, and we think that they don't know where they're at. But research that Be Smart has done would indicate that children do know where their parents keep their firearms, correct?
Yes, they do. And I know it's some of these different tabling events that I've gone to where we talk about the Be Smart program. And we, a lot of times we're handing out gun locks at some of these events. And I've seen parents say, oh, I don't need one of those. My kids don't know where, I keep the gun. And you'll see the kids' eyes light up like, oh yeah, Mom, it's at the top of the closet underneath the sheets, behind the board games. And then the parents' eyes get big and they're like, you know what, I think I will take that gun lock, So yeah, a lot of times the kids usually know.
So for the safety part of it, you offer free gun locks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And parents can also buy storage containers that would provide a level of safety. So that's the safe part of the SMART. The M part again is?
Modeling responsible behavior.
So give us an example of modeling.
So I would say, when you've used a gun, maybe you've gone target practicing, and then, maybe, whether it's, you're with your friends or your child is seeing you, you're unloading the gun, you're making sure that it's stored without, the ammunition in it, and you're putting it in, in the gun lock, and you're locking it up. And so, and you're letting your children know, and the other adults with you, this is what we do. We put it in a gun safe. You put the keys where they can't be accessed, and that this is an adult thing. This is not a toy. This is not to be used without an adult present. This is where it's locked up, and it's not just for anyone to have.
And your father modeled that behavior for you with the way he stored and how he trained you to handle weapons. So that's that modeling part.
Right. He did try to model safety. I will say that he kind of missed the mark when it came to storing it in a locked place or with a gun lock, because he was just putting it in the top of a closet. And I think if he'd known more, with the information that's kind of available now, he definitely would have done better. Yeah.
Okay. And the A is for ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
And you this is one of the ones I did not think of, that I should ask when I have my children or allow my children to go to play with someone else or stay at someone else's house. And I would say that that's not just for friends, but it's relatives or any place that my children are going to be, that I should ask that question.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because I know as a parent, I really didn't, my son's 18 now, and when he was younger, I really didn't know this information either. And that wasn't really one of the things I was asking, but I would, you ask things like if there's allergies, or what kind of, or my kid has a sensitive stomach, what kind of food are you serving? And a lot of times we don't think to ask, like, do you have guns? Do you?
No, I didn't. I never thought about that. I would ask, will there be an adult home? Yeah. There, while my child is there, will there be access to alcohol? I thought about those things.
Right.
I never considered asking about, do you have weapons in your house? And are they properly stored and secured?
Right.
A great question for our parents to add to the questions that I know they already asked.
Yeah, I will say, I know once when my son was in middle school, and there was a friend, and we were all at the family's house, and something came up about weapons, and the parents said, oh, well, yeah, they're in our bedroom, but the bedroom door is locked. And it was kind of like, kind of a red light of like, well, that's okay. He's not gonna be coming over here unattended because, they were trying to do the right thing, but just a locked bedroom door between, the middle schoolers and the weapons, that's not enough.
Yes. And then the T is to tell someone. If you find a weapon, if you see a weapon that's not secured, the child should come and tell an adult.
Definitely, yeah.
And not handle that weapon.
Right. Not handle the weapon, tell an adult. And it's also for other adults, for parents to tell other people about Be Smart and to tell them about how to safely secure their firearms and things like that. And the R with the recognize the role of guns in suicide. That's another one that I think a lot of us don't think about. And like I mentioned, I was raised, my dad thought he was doing the right thing by showing me how to safely handle a gun, but I know he hadn't thought about what if my child is having a difficult moment and they've got access to this gun, and this could be a means of them, committing suicide. And sadly, that is another thing that affected our family. 10 years ago, our cousin's son, he was 10, and he had a bad day. And his family, his dad was, they were like, the family that I was raised in, that, they did target practicing. They knew how to use the gun. They, thought they were teaching him to use it safely, but they didn't think about when they have, when kids have those tough times, and that they don't have the emotional maturity that an adult would have to think, it's going to get better. This was just maybe a bad day at school, or just something that's going to pass. And he knew where the gun was, and he shot himself in the head. And he was 10. He didn't know what he was doing. I mean, and it was devastating. It's really, that part of our family has never really recovered. And my son was 8 at the time. This was his favorite cousin. This was the only other boy cousin. They were close in age, and they were best friends. And having to tell your 8-year-old that his cousin is dead, it's devastating.
It is.
And it's no parent wants to go through that. No parent wants to lose a child. No parent wants to see their own child struggling with the death of a friend or a relative over something that's preventable. And my son, an 8-year-old can't really comprehend those kind of things. And we had just been reading Percy Jackson, and all he kept thinking was, well, I can go down, Percy, like in the Greek mythology, goes down to rescue
Hades, to rescue his mother.
Right. And it was like, no, babe,
that reality is not something he could comprehend. And that's why this topic is so important. And I recognize it is a heavy topic for us to be sharing with our parents in a podcast, but it's an important topic because we want to make sure that no family has to go through what your family went through. We want to make sure that we are keeping every child safe so that they can achieve those goals and reach their full potential that we know that they can do. And they can be that source of light to our world,
right?
That we know that they're here to be. So I just want to first and foremost say to you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. I know that's not an easy thing to be as vulnerable and share your personal stories, but I know that it will resonate with our parents because it speaks to your passion for this work, why you would work a full day in school and then give up time in the evenings and on the weekends to advocate for the safe storage of weapons. Before we close, can you just tell us, how do you go about sharing this message with the community other than like a podcast?
So sometimes we have tabling events, whether it's a district event or just like a community fair, and we'll go out and we'll have, pamphlets and information. A lot of times, we have the free gun locks that we're handing out. So, I do that. I talk to people and, share my story. And I also just, in personal interactions, I let people know, I'm just, a few years ago, a fellow teacher mentioned that she was getting her son a gun for Christmas, and I had to tell her my story, and I had another coworker that was like, you really shouldn't, like make a comment on her parenting. I'm like, I'm not making, any commentary on her parenting, but I'm like, that's fine, get your son that gun for Christmas. But I was like, please, make sure you have a gun safe and that you're keeping it locked up, because I want to share to you what happened to our family, because I don't want this to happen to your family.
Right.
This is, no one should have to go through this. So, yeah.
And that's the important message that we want parents to hear. If a parent wants to get more information, how can they get more information from Be Smart or get a gun safety lock? How could they get that?
So they could go to besmartforkids.org to get more information. And I think there's information there about getting some of the gun locks. And a lot of times the police departments also give them out for free. So that's B-E, SMART, S-M-A-R-T, for kids, KIDS.org. So besmartforkids.org.
And on that site, they can get information around how to properly secure their gun, to find out where they can get a gun lock, and additional information to just model what the M stands for with their students.
Definitely. Yeah, all about securing their gun, modeling that correct behavior, asking before they have their child go to someone's house, recognizing the role of guns in suicide, and then just telling others about the Be Smart program.
Thank you. So parents, once again, if you would like additional information on this very important topic, you can go to besmartforkids.org. And once again, that is besmartforkids.org. Well, Marty, thank you so much for being with us today. Parents, thank you for listening to this podcast and watching this podcast today. I know this has been a challenging subject for us to discuss, but it's an important subject because it's about the safety of your children, which Marty and I, as educators, want to make sure that we help you as parents help our students and your children reach their full potential. So if you'd like more information around Be Smart, or if you have some questions, please reach out to them at besmartforkids.org. And they will be more than happy to give you additional information, as well as provide you with a gun safety lock if you need one, or tell you where you can go and get one. So thank you very much, Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you're doing. And let's all be safe.
Yes, and be smart.
And be smart. Thank you.
Thank you.